Hi guys, Drew here, and today's video is about my magical powders. And basically what I mean is, in my craft, ground up materials that I use regularly, my favorites. Or actually a couple of them aren't ones that I use super regularly, but I do own them and do use them occasionally. Some of the powders I use, I also use them in their original versions. We'll be talking about cinnamon, lemon balm, ginger. I use those in both powdered form and in their original form. And depending on the application will kind of depend on how I decide what I want to use, how I want to use it. And I use powders when I load candles sometimes. I use them sometimes just to sprinkle over the top of candles. Of course, an incense is a good way to use ground ingredients, but I'll use them to charge water. We use our ground kyanite and selenite to charge our stormwater. There are many, many applications in which ground ingredients can be used, and I really enjoy working with them. First, I want to start with powders that I purchase. Let's start with magnetic sand. This is my magnetic sand. It is super fine, and you can see it's glistening, shiny. I wish it would focus better. And it is magnetic. You can see it's magnetic. I know it's kind of difficult to see. I apologize. Now, what do we use magnetic sand for? Magnetic sand, as the title suggests, is good for attraction and drawing magic. It's great for money and business. So if you're trying to attract or draw money or business success into your life, magnetic sand is a good way to go. I use it in prosperity spells for creations from the hollow, our business, all the time. Next, we have benzoin. And yeah, it just looks like clay, dry clay, or ground up chalk or something. It smells amazing. Love, love, love the way benzoin smells. And benzoin is also kind of cool because if you want to do a cool fire spell, like if you sprinkle this in the flames of a candle or throw a little bit into a fire, it'll make the fire surge up real quick. Benzoin is something that I personally use a lot for money draw and prosperity spells. It can also be used in purification and exorcism spells, and it's excellent for protection. Then we have sulfur, which doesn't smell so great. I don't know how well you can tell. It's really pale yellow. It's really fine and like silk. It's like a talc powder, like baby powder. Sulfur is great for protection, healing, and warding. Next, we have white sandalwood powder. And white sandalwood powder is very much like sulfur in its consistency, a lot like a talcum powder or something. And it also smells amazing. I find that the energy of sulfur is very intense. It doesn't take a lot of sulfur in any working. I find benzoin to be sort of mid-range in its intensity. And sandalwood I find to be really, really subtle. But having said that, it still does not take very much sandalwood to make a big impact, even though the energy is subtle. It's still very strong energy. White sandalwood is probably my personally most used powder. It is very high vibrational. It's great for spells concerning protection, spirituality, exorcism, healing, wish fulfillment, purification, and visions. And it also makes a really great base for homemade incense. Then we have gum arabic. It's white in is also much like a talcum powder. It is great for spirituality, raising vibration, just like white sandalwood, and good for purification as well. Then there's yambi bark. Again, a very fine talc type powder. I don't use this one overly much because it's mainly good for love and lust, and I don't do a lot of romantic spells, if that makes sense. Here we have echinacea, and this is less like a talc. It's in between the chalky and the talc. Echinacea is great to put in any spell to strengthen, to amplify that spell. It's also been traditionally held as an offering, so it would be good to add to any offering that you might be making. Lemon balm. Now, I work with lemon balm in its regular form quite a bit. This is very much like a talc too. It is very, very fine. Lemon balm, of course, is great for love, success, healing, and for banishing. Then we have ginger, ground ginger root, which I think smells amazing. Great for love, money, success, power, purification. And when I say power, I mean sort of generating extra strength, extra power for whatever it is you're working on. Or if you're trying to draw extra courage, strength, or power into your life through spell work. Protection, healing, and lust. Then there's cinnamon powder, ground cinnamon, which I also work with cinnamon stick. Cinnamon is great for spells involving spirituality, success, healing, lust, protection, love, psychic abilities. It is also an amp that brings extra power to a spell or working. It can be used in expansion spells, growth spells, and it's great for releasing blockages. This is the box in which I keep all of my little ground ingredients in. And I got this years and years ago at Michael's when it was on sale. I have so many of this kind of thing. All right, let's talk about garnet granules and iron filings. Iron filings look a lot like magnetic sand, except the ones that we do, because they're so fine. We also have bigger ones. Here are some of my bigger, chunkier iron pieces. We actually sell these iron filings in our Etsy shop, these very, very fine ones. Iron filings are great for protection and defensive magic, for strength, grounding, and return of stolen property, because those are the properties of iron, of course. And I will say this, if you're going to use iron filings and you believe in and work with the Fae, you need to consider what you're doing and maybe discuss it with them, because if there's one thing other than dogs, apparently, that the Fae dislike, it is iron. They don't like it at all. So it actually wards them off and keeps them out. So it's something to consider when working with iron. On to garnet granules, or granulated garnet. Again, kind of hard to see, but it is just ground up garnet. And so it's useful for spells for attraction and drawing. It's great for clearing the auric field. It's a wonderful tool with regards to manifestation. And any spells we might work to increase our creativity or courage would be benefited by the use of garnet, and thus granulated garnet. And I often use garnet for love spells or magic involving love. All right. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I grind selenite. We're moving on. We've moved on to ones that we make ourselves. Sorry. But yeah, ground selenite, which we sell in our Etsy shop. and I use regularly. Again, we use that along with ground kyanite and ground black tourmaline for our cleansing waters. Selenite, of course, is great for clearing and cleansing, for purification. It's also good for spirit communication. It clears etheric blockages. It increases energy flow. And yeah, I use it in spellcraft. I like to use it in powdered form. Next, we have the kyanite, which of course I have much less of at any given time. It's harder to grind up. It takes a lot longer, much more effort. And it's also more expensive to purchase. So kyanite enhances psychic ability. It protects the auroric field. It facilitates energy work and release. It's good for dream work. It's good for journey work, as it links the physical, astral, and casual bodies, allowing for a full consciousness. It's good for intuition and guidance. Next, I'm going to talk about pumice, like pumice stones. I grind up pumice stones and use them for banishing and protection. Terracotta dust. I love my terracotta dust. This is something that was given to me. I was thinking about brick dust, and suddenly I got guidance that I could also use terracotta dust. So here it is, and this is what it's good for. Protection and defensive magic, grounding, change, growth, and money. And I have one other powder that I work with, or dust, but I don't have any at the moment. It is a concoction that I make. I call doorstop dust, and it's basically for creating wards and boundaries. I'm going to do a video at some point on it. I'm going to make some and show everybody how I make it and what's involved. So that'll be coming at some point later in the year. Until then, I hope this was somewhat coherent. I know it's kind of difficult to really get a good look at these ingredients in this format like this. But I did want to share my magical powders because they are a huge part of my practice, and I love them. I love making them, and I love working with them. So hopefully I shared some stuff that some of you haven't actually worked with yourself or heard of, and maybe you'll be inspired to check it out. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, much love and gratitude.